Welcome, everyone, to this explainer. Today, we are unpacking a moment that literally gave the entire sporting world goosebumps. We're looking at the raw, completely unfiltered post-match interview of an 18-year-old kid who, well, just conquered the globe. I'm talking, of course, about Lamine Yamal's historic World Cup final victory against Argentina. This wasn't just a championship match, you guys. It was a massive collision of history, the reigning veteran giants squaring off against the electric future of the sport. We've taken his incredibly emotional Spanish language post-match interview, translated it into English, and we're going to break down exactly what went through the mind of a teenager who just unseated his own idol on the world's biggest stage. We're going to cover the immense emotion, the grueling tactical adjustments that actually won the game, and that ultimate poignant passing of the torch. Okay, let's dive into this surreal opening statement. I mean, just imagine being 18 years old. Most of us at that age are sweating over final exams or, just trying to figure out weekend plans. But instead, Lamine Yamal is standing on the ultimate global stage, holding the most coveted trophy in all of sports. In his translated interview, he literally calls the situation absolute madness. He admits that if you told him just a few years ago that he'd be lifting the World Cup, specifically after playing against his absolute idol, Leo Messi, in a final, he would have called you crazy. And he isn't giving us some hyper-polished PR-trained response here. This is pure, unadulterated awe. Remember, Yamal walked the exact same halls at the La Masia Academy as Messi did. So to go from watching highlights of your hero as a kid to actively dethroning him on the world stage, that's a psychological leap most seasoned veterans couldn't handle, let alone a teenager. It perfectly captures this sheer disbelief at realizing a lifelong dream. Section 1. A surreal World Cup victory. So, as the reality of this massive achievement crashed down on him, Yamal actually admitted in the interview that he was fighting back tears right there on the pitch. This wasn't just another win for him. It was the culmination of a lifetime of dreaming suddenly made real under the brightest lights imaginable. Now, when you reach the absolute pinnacle of your profession as a teenager, it is so incredibly easy to let the ego take over. But instead of soaking up all that individual glory, Yamal instantly pointed away from himself. Notice how grounded he is. He dedicates this victory first and foremost to his family. Then, and this is beautiful, to his working-class neighborhood of Rocafonda. For those of you who follow him, this is that exact 304 postal code he famously gestures with his hands after every single goal he scores. It's this powerful reminder of exactly where he came from. And finally, he dedicated it to every single person in Spain who supported the team and pushed through every difficult minute of the tournament. He deliberately anchored his highest professional high to his deepest personal roots. Section 2. Breaking the Argentine Wall. To really fully appreciate the ecstasy of that victory, we have to look at the grueling crucible of the match itself. Because, let me tell you, getting to that trophy presentation was anything but easy. Yamal described the match in these incredibly vivid terms, painting a picture of an absolute battle of wills against a defending champion that was just not going to go down quietly. Yamal actually noted that Spain knew Argentina was going to wage total war. That's his exact phrase, total war. Against that relentless physical aggression from the Argentine midfield, Spain had to employ this desperate, calculated patience. They knew they couldn't just get sucked into a physical street fight. They really had to rely on their passing networks, maintaining possession, and constantly probing for weaknesses. And when Spain finally did get an advantage, Yamal mentioned they literally had to defend with their soul, absorbing immense pressure with whatever little energy they had left until a crack finally appeared in the Argentine armor. It's such a fascinating tactical contrast, right? The calculated, patient endurance of Spain meeting the sheer, overwhelming force and fighting spirit of Argentina. Section 3. The extra time winner. That intense clash of styles pushed both of these teams to their absolute physical and mental limits. The match dragged out, legs were getting ridiculously heavy, and the tension in that stadium, man, it was thick enough to cut with a knife. So let's look at exactly how this dramatic endgame sequence unfolded. First, in regulation, the dynamic completely shifts when Argentina's Enzo Fernandez gets a red card. Now, you'd think a man advantage at this level is a guaranteed victory, right? But Yamal explains that even against 10 men, breaking this Argentine defense felt totally impossible. Why? Well, because the Argentine goalkeeper, A.Admi Martinez, was deploying his usual psychological warfare and making saves that Yamal literally described as being from another planet. Martinez just thrives in chaos, and he was stopping absolutely everything Spain threw at him. But Spain maintained that desperate patience we just talked about. And finally, in extra time, the magic happens. Ferran Torres finds a tiny pocket of space and scores an absolute wonder goal to break the deadlock. Yamal describes the entire Spanish bench just erupting with pure, uncontained emotion. They hold on tight, that final whistle blows, and Spain is crowned world champions. Section 4. Passing of the torch. Amidst all the screaming, the crying, and the players just collapsing onto the grass in sheer exhaustion, Lamine Yamal made a highly conscious, deeply respectful decision. You see, this wasn't just the end of a football match. It was the literal physical collision of two distinct eras. His very first instinct wasn't to run to the television cameras or actually even to collapse in celebration with his teammates. No, he actively sought out Lionel Messi. He stated in the post-match interview that sharing a pitch with someone he's admired since childhood was completely surreal. He specifically calls Messi the greatest in history, and instead of gloating in his victory, he wanted to make sure he showed his idol the ultimate respect. It just demonstrates his profound reverence for the game itself, and a really deep acknowledgement of the giants whose shoulders he now stands upon. And the response Yamal received in that moment was honestly nothing short of breathtaking. Yamal said Messi was incredibly generous in defeat. They found each other on the pitch, shook hands, and Messi told him this: "Keep going because the future belongs to your generation." Just let the magnitude of those words sink in for a second. The undisputed greatest player of his era, passing the ultimate blessing down to the 18-year-old kid who had just defeated him on the grandest stage. Yamal confessed that hearing those exact words directly from Messi's mouth is something he's going to carry with him for the rest of his career. In fact, he noted that receiving this blessing almost felt as big and honestly as heavy as the gold medal hanging around his neck. It truly is the ultimate cinematic ending to a World Cup, isn't it? A teenager wins it all, honoring his working-class roots, surviving a grueling tactical war of attrition, and receiving the ultimate validation from his own childhood hero. Which leaves us with this final provocative thought. With the greatest player in history officially passing the torch and giving his blessing, what limits are possibly left for Lamine Yamal and this entirely new generation of football? The ceiling hasn't just been raised, it's been completely shattered. The future of the sport is officially here. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I'll see you next time as we continue to break down the fascinating stories that shape our world.